Hi guys. So today we are going to be talking about our next project, which is going to be making a mask. So masks have been used by different cultures throughout time for different reasons, including ritual, storytelling, theater, funerals, burial, representing of important figures or gods, objects of beauty, concealing identity, and entertainment and fun. You will be making your own mask. As we look at these cool masks from around the world, I want you to start thinking about what purpose you want your mask to serve. You will have to write about this, so please make sure that you are considering the purpose of your mask as you work. This will be an important part of your planning. After the presentation today, you will begin by researching and sketching some ideas. So these are a couple of masks from Mexico. The masks that we're looking at here are both carved out of wood. And folk art, you see lots of different sorts of characters in masks. This beautiful sort of colorful tradition. You often see lots of hand painting, bright colors. In Mexican folk art masks, often the animal characters represent different characters from folklore. The jaguar, for instance, is a very popular mask. And if you look close, you'll even see that there is fur attached to the jaguar. In folklore, the jaguar is considered a trickster spirit. So these masks are often used in performances and dances to show cultural stories in Mexico. This is not a unique characteristic of Mexico. Many cultures use masks to tell stories. These are some masks from Indonesia, and you're going to see one of these characters is the panther-like creature, Barong, who is a character in the Balinese mythology of Bali and Indonesia. He is the king of spirits and everything that is basically good. And he is the enemy of Rongda, who is the demon queen, the mother of all spirit guardians. And in the mythological tradition of Bali, she's the spirit of I guess she's the yang to his yin. If Barong is good, Rongda is evil. There are plays that are presented that depict a battle between Barong and Rongda, and this is part of the Barong dance to represent the eternal battle between good and evil. These masks are really, really beautiful. The mouths can often be opened and closed by performers. So the characters are very animated and engaging in the plays. So what we have here are a couple of funerary masks. They're very different from one another in some ways. We've got some similarities as well. They're both masks of kings, and they're both gold. On the left, you see Tutankhamun's funerary mask, and it is made of gold and it is inlaid with precious stones. And it would have gone over his mummy, so as part of his sarcophagus, part of the burial rites for the king. The other mask we see is a Mycenaean funerary mask, and this is a gold funerary mask of an unknown Mycenaean ruler from about 16th century BC. It was found in a circle grave at Mycenae, and the mask, though we don't know who the king is, the mask is called the Mask of Agamemnon. It was named by the German archaeologist and excavator of Troy, Heinrich Schielmann. But he actually excavated it and was really fascinated by Greek mythology. So he named it the Mask of Agamemnon because of his interest in Greek mythology. We now know that this would predate the story of Agamemnon. So interesting connection, though you have to take it with a grain of salt. Let's see. So these are masks from the Noh Theater of Japan, and the masks represent characters from popular stories, but they are carved so that under different lights, it gives the impression of different expressions. So these masks are all made out of wood. They're carved from like solid blocks of wood. But the way that they're carved and the angles that the carvers use to create their faces, like if the actor tilts their head in certain ways, they can create different facial expressions, though the masks are stationary just by manipulating the light and shadow across the face. These are some ancient theatrical masks from ancient Greece. So one of the really interesting things here, of course, the masks are intended to make the performers appear as different characters from Greek stories. One of the interesting things with these masks is functional. You can see it is especially apparent maybe with one of these older ones. The masks acted like an amplifier for the voice of the actor. They were intended to kind of be megaphone-like. Grecian theater was often performed outdoors in little amphitheaters. So any way that the actors' voices could project better in those spaces helped with storytelling in a practical sense. So these are a couple of masks from the Chinese opera. Traditionally, you'll see these beautiful type dragon masks. One of the masks is actually decorative here. You can see it's very, very, very large. But you see really stylized abstract patterns painted on these masks in Chinese opera. These are some of my favorite masks. They're from the Native people of Canada, the First Tribes of Canada. Oceanic art is what this is sometimes called. And as you look at these masks, you can see, much like the Noh mask, they are carved out of wood. I have seen this one. I got to see this particular piece at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. They have a whole section actually that's dedicated to oceanic art, and I find it very beautiful. It's very bold and abstract designs, like just seem so powerful. This particular piece here is for performance. Often masks are used for cultural performances. They transform, the actors who are wearing them into another person or being entirely. So this is a representation of a whale, and it's intended to be worn by 3 dancers performing together the movements of the whale. So one person is under the head, and one person is in the middle of the body, and the third person operates the tail. It's very cleverly jointed, so it's more than a mask, it's a puppet. So often you see masks used for cultural storytelling with the oceanic art. The oceanic people relied very much on their connection to the ocean and the creatures that lived inside the ocean. They would have allowed them to, eat and have a livelihood. They would have provided, materials for tools and other things too. So the relationship to the whale would have been a very important one in oceanic culture. In Africa, we see many, many, many different cultural masks. Africa is a huge place where there are many countries and many distinct civilizations that have different traditions. These are just a couple of the many, many masks you can find in Africa. We see the Bali mask and the Punu mask here. You can see this mask, the round. This type of mask is often used in welcoming ceremonies. The flat circular face is said to represent the sun, and the horns represent the horns of an antelope. The Punu mask, you can see it looks like a human figure, but it's got the sort of elongated coffee bean shaped eyes. The hair is done in the style of the Punu tribe. And you also see that the figure is painted white, which would represent a character of the spirit realm. Here are a couple of Day of the Dead masks from Mexico. These are often made out of paper mache. Many of the cultural masks we've seen so far are carved, like the African masks are certainly carved with wood. These Day of the Dead masks that we have here are both painted paper mache. Paper mache is built up over some sort of armature. It could be an armature of wire. It could be an armature of cardboard. Paper is mixed with a glue type substance, sometimes like a glue like Elmer's glue, sometimes like a combination of flour and water. And the strips of paper are then dipped in that glue and applied to the more rigid skeletal form, and then used to build up the shapes. After that's dry, you can see here that the mask can then be painted very bold colors. These are a couple of metal masks. So these are samurai masks from Japan. So with the samurai masks, they were supposed to be intimidating. These were masks that people wore when they would ride out to war. So the idea here was that you would psych out your enemy and intimidate them. So these are made to look like demons and very fierce creatures. So that your enemy would be frightened when they saw you coming. So we've got masks that are used for warfare here. We've also got another function of masks. These are masks that are cultural. These are from the Carnival of Venice. Carnival of Venice is a celebration, and it's an annual festival held in Venice, Italy. It ends with the Christian celebration of Lent. So that starts 40 days before Easter on Shrove Tuesday, or Mardi Gras, the day before Ash Wednesday. This is a festival that is world famous for its elaborate masks. So, here we have the mask being used widely as a cultural event and, entertainment, pageantry that is, happening in our current day. So what we're looking at right now is called a volto mask. Volto is Italian for face or larva. It means ghost in Latin. This is the most iconic modern Venetian mask. It's often made of stark white porcelain. If you're looking at a real mask, a copy might be made out of thick plastic, or a cheaper version might be made out of thick plastic. These masks are usually have heavy decoration. Typically when people wear them at the Carnival of Venice, they wear them with elaborate costume as well, including elaborate headdress. And, you can see here matching outfits Mostly the whole body is covered here, even up to the eyes, where you see makeup through the eye holes. There's other famous masks from the Carnival of Venice. So some characters, such as this, were taken from the Italian tradition of Commedia dell'arte. And these were comedic street performances that featured stock characters engaging in absurd encounters. This character of Harlequin was very emotional and used physical comedy and pantomime to make people laugh. Very much like the character of a jester, someone who would be a fool. So Harlequin is a popular character. Some of the masks I find, I don't know, really creepy. And I actually, when I was putting this lecture together, looked into the history of many of them. And this is called a Moretta mask. And it means dark or mute. It means the meaning in Italian is closest to dark one. So it was a small strapless mask usually. Sometimes it was made of black velvet, or sometimes you can find them made of ceramic like this. It has wide eye holes, but it has no mouth or lips at all. It derived actually from an older mask invented in France in the 16th century, but is different from the mask in France because it doesn't have a hole to speak through. The mask in France was actually made just so people, when they went out into the sun, women, so when they went out to the sun, didn't have to expose their face to the sun and get a tan, which would have been just, a sign of being, I guess, someone who worked outside more so for that time. It would have been considered the posh thing if you could have, a very fair complexion at that time. So, well-to-do women often, if they went out riding or something, they would put on a mask to protect their skin. So the mask was only large enough to conceal a woman's identity, and it was held in place by the wearer by biting on a button or a bit on the inside. So this person, you can see there's no strap. So they've got like something right in here that they're biting to hold it to their face. That's another meaning that it's, that's another connection to it being a mute mask. The person's wearing it can't speak. There are more modern adaptations of this mask that now have straps so people can speak when they're wearing it. Often this look was finished off with a veil. So they would have this and then a drapery kind of that went over the head as well. I think this is probably one of the most recognizable sort of masks from the Carnival of Venice. These are the plague doctor masks, and these weird sort of bird-like looking characters are wearing masks that were worn by doctors in the era of the bubonic plague, and the long nose parts were stuffed with herbs to ward off the plague. So I don't know, nothing about contemporary medicine says that this would be helpful to these doctors. So I'm imagining a lot of doctors indeed did, contract the plague, but that's what the invention of these masks was originally for. Now, these are not for that same purpose. Obviously, they're decorative. It's just that the plague was a huge part of European history. Tons and tons of people died. So this is like a creepy relic from European history that people have latched onto in the Carnival of Venice. Let's see what other things we have here to look at. The Columbina mask is a really popular mask, and this too was named, like Harlequin, was named after a stock character from the Commedia dell'arte. It was the character of Columbina was a maid servant. And it was said that this was this sort of mask was designed for the character, the actress who played that character, because she didn't wish to, the original actress who played that character, because she didn't wish to have her beautiful face covered completely. So there, the idea that, you know, you could, you know, wear a mask, but still show off your beautiful face. In fact, so this is the story behind it, but in fact, the Combina is likely a entirely modern creation. There are really no historic paintings depicting its use on the stage or in social life. So it's likely that the story about the actress not wanting to hide her beautiful face is all just a story, because there's not evidence showing that it's true. Nevertheless, a beautiful mask. When I think of masquerades, this is the kind of mask that most often I think of. Let's see, so we've got other ones here as well. This is the Balta mask. And the mask's beak-like chin here has a really special function. It is to allow the wearer to talk and eat and drink without ever removing the mask, therefore preserving the wearer's anonymity. The Balta was often accompanied by a red or black cape and a tricorn hat. So it became, because of its ability to hide a person's identity, it became during carnival time a standard choice for people who were within the Venetian government who did not want to be identified during this time of revelry. Let's see what other things we have here. So this is also from the Carnival of Venice, the Pantalone and Zani mask. There's something in the characters, the stage characters, that are often represented in the Carnival of Venice masks, that some of the facial features would indicate a comedic character, like a character with a long nose and a brow and sort of bulging eyes would have been seen as a comedian, or as a foolish character. So these characters indeed have very long noses, so they're intended to be kind of fool characters, much like Harlequin is a fool. So these are a couple of contemporary masks. I put them up here because I thought that they were really interestingly made, beautifully done. I love this one on the left. It's very carefully painted with, I imagine, something like an underglaze, so the artist could really carefully mix the colors. I can't think of much culturally that I've experienced where, you know, you have the opportunity to wear a mask, but we can put ourselves in the imagination sort of place of, you know, masks, having learned a little bit about the history, and start thinking, you know, when we're designing our own mask, what kind of things would our mask be used for? What kind of ceremonies or purposes might they fulfill? So that's going to connect to your assignment. Your assignment is going to be to design and make a mask of your own. You should consider the shape of your mask and how you will attach it and wear it. You can also make a mask that, you know, is going to go up on your wall, but you should kind of plan through how you want to hang it on the wall as well. The overall form of your mask, including color, texture, and detail, should be considered. Your mask should have a concept and a purpose. So what are you using this mask for? What sort of cultural needs does it fulfill? What might it represent? Okay, if it's symbolic, what might it represent? You're going to have today and tomorrow to come up with at least 3 rough sketches. Next, you're going to choose one design and draw it in detail. I say when you start with your rough sketches, you're going to have many different resource videos to look at, and lots of content to look at in terms of building up your ideas about how you want to design your mask. I do want you to try to draw your mask from at least 2 different angles. There are some things, especially when you're thinking about how to construct something 3-dimensionally, that are going to be better expressed from different angles. So it helps to draw different angles when you are doing something three-dimensional, because it gives you a fuller idea of what your plans are. If you want to take a look at some more masks, you can check out the Pinterest page here. I've got some more masks there. You can also start checking out some of the research videos that I've posted here for you as well. All right. Well, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with for your planning sketches and what your concepts behind your masks are going to be.